proliferating assortment of proposed new state programs will solve the dairy sector's current and impending problems and convincingly justifying the expenditure of millions of tax dollars. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
Hi, it's Tara from Green Mountain Solar. Since day one, our goal has been to provide the best solar experience in Vermont. But you don't have to take our word for it. Here are a few of our customers sharing why they picked Green Mountain Solar.
I went with Green Mountain Solar because a friend of mine had a really great experience with them. I felt immediately a sense of integrity from start to finish.
I'm a firm believer of getting quotes from multiple companies, so we actually had 3 companies come out and he answered all my questions, and frankly he made it so that it was super easy for me, which is, especially in today's day and age, we have 2 young kids, so the easier it is for me, the better.
There's just these panels up on my roof, and they do this job of bringing electricity to the house that runs, everything.
If this sounds like the solar experience you're looking for, visit our website at greenmtnsolar.com.
It feels like magic to me, to be honest.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit nationalguard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Vermont Army National Guard. Aired by the Vermont Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
When you think about the Patriots' needs this offseason, look for one trait: explosiveness.
The stories that matter to you.
I'm not convinced that Ben Shungu, that he's not the league player of the year.
This is your home for New England sports.
Bobby Dahlbeck playing third base this year? Now that is interesting.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show. It is a snowy Friday out there here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. First and foremost, everybody drive safe. If you're in your car right now and you're listening to this, drive safe, stay focused. Reports are out of multiple accidents in places around the state. I get texts in from as far as New York and the Plattsburgh area saying the roads are bad. So be safe out there, everybody, and we'll get through these next 90 minutes together. All 90 minutes today available to us, full show, no high school basketball tonight. So hope, again, everybody has had a good day and stay safe. 90 minutes left in the work week for me. Ton to get to. Lots of news on the Patriots today. An interesting text I got overnight about the Red Sox, and then UVM women's hockey coach Jim Plumer stops by ahead of their playoff game tomorrow in the Hockey East quarterfinals against Providence. So Jim Plumer will be with us at 5:45. You can get in, as always, on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026, your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can also get in on the brand new Facebook live stream. You can watch us live on YouTube as well. So get your comments in there. Now, everybody, Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations are in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. So remember earlier in the week when we found out that the Patriots haven't spoken yet to star defensive back and free agent to be J.C. Jackson. So Jackson said the team hasn't reached out at all yet, and he's feeling antsy and he's feeling frustrated. And that's true. But we did hear this also this week from Mike Giardi of the NFL Network, who covers the Patriots very, very well. The Patriots offered Jackson a deal in season, and he turned it down.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here with J.C. Jackson. Let's start with this. The New England Patriots would like to continue to work with the player. That's why they made an offer to him during the season. But I'm told by a well-placed source that offer was essentially a non-starter, that it was more of that, yes, hometown discount type feel to it than this is going to be a guy who's headed to the open market and deserving of a big contract.
So the Patriots offered Jackson a, quote, hometown discount deal. Do you have a problem with that? 802-585-3026. That's your best defensive player. That is a guy that you should want to take care of. Do you have a problem with them offering him a low-ball deal instead of a top market deal? Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, all the methods of contact are open. Do you have a problem with how the Patriots handled that with J.C. Jackson? Because I actually don't. And I'm kind of surprised that I don't. Usually, I tend to side with the player and I tend to be hard on the team. That's generally how I am. But I don't have a problem with anything that has transpired there and what Mike Giardi said. I think everything that happened was logical. The Patriots made an offer, and they made an offer earlier than they had to. And usually when you make an offer earlier than you have to, when you aren't pressed with a deadline or with competition, you tend to offer lower. We see this in every sport. Think about baseball, right? We see the young guy who's only played for 4 years. He's got 2 years left until free agency, and the team offers him a big deal. Well, we know that the team is, look, if the player reached free agency, the player would get more money, but he's exchanging that for the security of getting money now. The Patriots did that with J.C. Jackson. I understand it wasn't he had 2 years left. He had a couple of months left, but they offered him a deal earlier than they needed to. And when you offer a deal earlier than you needed to, that deal tends to be lower than what you could get on the absolute true open market. I don't have any problem with what the Patriots did. The Patriots made an offer. J.C. Jackson said, look, I've come this far. I'm just going to take it all the way and hit the true open market. I don't have a problem with that either. Don't have a problem with the Pats coming in a little lower. Don't have a problem with Jackson saying, no, thank you. I'm going to hit the market at this point. I might as well just do it. I don't think that this on either side is a problem. Do you? 802-585-3026. Joe says, I have a problem with it. The Patriots have never been a team to spend money, but now it's not the time to spend, but now it's the time to spend money to keep a good player around. Jackson is a top corner in the league, and they need to keep him. I think you made a couple of different points there, Joe, and I think a lot of them are good. The Patriots do need to keep J.C. Jackson, whether it is on the franchise tag or whether it is on a long-term deal. The Patriots need J.C. Jackson. It is a offensive league now. If you're going to combat offense, I think you're going to need to be able to score to keep up with the Joneses to a large degree, but you're also going to need somebody who can make some stops. And J.C. Jackson is a guy who can cover Stephon Diggs in your own division for a team you're trying to beat. So they do need to keep J.C. Jackson. 100% with you. They could let Malcolm Butler go back in the day because they had Stephon Gilmore. They could let Stephon Gilmore go because they had J.C. Jackson. They don't have anybody behind J.C. Jackson. There is no succession plan here. The Pats are actually, right now, as we sit today, quite thin in the secondary. So they cannot afford to lose J.C. Jackson. He needs to be here next year. Franchise tag or long-term deal. I'm with you on that. That said, though, the Patriots really, they pay more than you think they do. So when Joe says the Pats have never been the type to pay, they've paid more than you thought. Look, they paid Shaq Mason. They paid David Andrews. They've paid Devin McCourty. They've paid Patrick Chung. They've paid to keep their own guys. And then as far as paying other guys, well, what do we call last year? Because I call that a spending spree. I call that binge spending. I don't call that never spending. Matthew Judon, Devon Godshaw, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. They went after everybody last year. Jalen Mills. So the Pats, they paid for Gilmore a couple years ago. So I think the idea that the Pats never pay, I don't think that that's true. I think that that has been bucked over the last couple of years. I do think that Jackson needs to be here next year in some capacity, but I don't have a problem with how the offer went in midseason. I just don't. Again, the Patriots at that point, they're only bidding against themselves, right? If they make him an offer in midseason, they're only bidding against themselves. Why would they go to the top of the market when they don't have to? As long as it was not an insultingly low offer. If it was an insultingly, let's just say J.C. Jackson wants $20 million a year. Well, if they offered him 8, well, then I would say you made a huge mistake. If they offered him 14, I would say, If they offered him 16.5, I would say, okay, now I'm not insulted. So as long as it wasn't an insultingly low offer, I don't have a problem with anything that the Patriots did here. And I don't have a problem with what Jackson did. Look, the NFL is a play-to-play league. There is risk on all sides of a contract situation. The Patriots offered Jackson a deal earlier than they need to. They assume some risk there. If they offer him a deal in week 10 and Jackson accepts it, and then Jackson blows out his leg and can never play again, the Patriots have taken on a lot of risk there. When you're taking on risk, especially with no competitors, I don't mind you offering a little bit lower, trying to mitigate that risk as much as you can. And Jackson takes risk also. Like, hey, I'm not going to sign right now. I'm going to wait until the end and try to go get as much money as I can. And he's won that risk right now. He did not get hurt. He has won that risk. So there is risk on all sides of this. Now, J.C. Jackson's going to go to the open market, potentially. If the Pats don't franchise tag him, they could. But Jackson might go to the open market, and he's going to get top dollar there. And if he gets franchise tagged, he's going to get top dollar there too. So I don't have a problem with any of this. And we got another text here on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Thomas, who's over in Heinsberg, says, do you think he's as good as a guy like Jalen Ramsey? Like, if he wants all that money, do you think that he's that good? No, Thomas, I don't. I don't think that J.C. Jackson is as good as Jalen Ramsey. That said, J.C. Jackson has the most interceptions in the league since coming in 2018. But this is how it goes. Every year, the salary cap goes up in the NFL, right? This year, COVID notwithstanding. Every year, the salary cap goes up. So every year, there's more money to spend. And every year, players hit the market and they get a bunch of money. And so, that's why Stephon Gilmore got mad, right? Like a couple years ago, Gilmore had a top of the market contract. Then a couple years later, he's kind of way down the list because of how high the cap has escalated. So every year, guys get more money than you think that they probably should, simply because the money is more available. So I don't think that Jalen Ramsey is as good as J.C. Jackson is as good as Jalen Ramsey, but he's going to get money very much in that range because of where we are. I didn't think Byron Jones is as good as Jalen Ramsey. He got paid. Shaq Griffin's not as good as Jalen Ramsey. He got paid. So J.C. Jackson's the top corner on the market. He's going to get his money just because of where we are right now in the cap progression. He's the best corner on the market. The cap has gone higher. The money is available, and Jackson's going to get it. He's going to get a large portion of money from the Patriots or somebody else. That's just the way that it goes. Frank says Jackson should show some loyalty and stay a Patriot. That's an interesting conversation. And if it came down to $21 million a year with the Jaguars or $19 million a year with the Patriots, he just might feel that loyalty. But if that hometown discount was $7 million less than what he could get somewhere else or get on the open market, then I'm not feeling very loyal at that. If I can go to an awful team for $21 million a year or stay with the Pats for 19, I just might feel the loyalty. But I'm not feeling it for $5 or $6 million less than I deserve. J.C. Jackson, he was an undrafted free agent. He's played for small pay the first several years of his career. Last year, he played for around $3 million. So this is his time to get paid. Loyalty is great, but not if you're going to completely lowball me. To this point, I don't have any problem with how the offers have shaken out and what Jackson did with him. I have more of a problem that the Patriots haven't called him yet this offseason, but we'll get to that later. All right, what we will do is we will go to break. When we come back, the UVM women's hockey team is in the Hockey East quarterfinals. Their game tomorrow, noon at the Gut against Providence. Their head coach, Jim Plumer, is going to stop by. Why should you go to the game tomorrow? Jim Plumer is going to join us. That's next on WDEV.
The push it, pull it, or tow it sale is back at Lamoille Valley Chevy. We would like to thank all our customers and our entire team for helping Lamoille Valley Chevy become the #1 volume Chevy truck dealer in Vermont for the second year in a row. Due to the success of the countdown to 4,000, our lot is now overstocked with more one-owner, low-mileage, late-model cars, trucks, and SUVs that I can remember, and I've instructed my entire team we need to sell them down. Here's how the push it, pull it, or tow it sale works. Through the end of February, anyone can push, pull, or tow any single trade to Lamoille Valley Chevy and get a $3,000 minimum trade allowance toward any in-stock pre-owned car, truck, or SUV on our lot. Don't worry. If your trade is worth more, you're going to get it. And folks, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we have a huge selection of certified pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs that come with a better-than-new 100,000-mile warranty, and you can get a guaranteed minimum trade allowance of $3,000 on these vehicles, too. So get to the push it, pull it, or tow it sale happening right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we know price matters.
The Berlin Mall invites you to experience the benefits of exercise as you participate in this year's Winter Walk, now through April 29th. As you walk, enjoy the beautiful landscapes along the scenic 260 miles of Vermont's Route 100 that are pictured along the corridor of the Berlin Mall.
Here's all you need to do. Step 1, get registered. You can either register online at theberlinmall.com/walk or on-site at the mall. Step 2, lace up your shoes and get walking. Step 3, track your progress to 432 laps. That's the equivalent of walking the 260 miles of scenic Route 100. Underwriting support is from CBMC, Pasumsic Bank, Casellas, Chestnut Place, Midstate Hyundai, The Times Argus, Planet Fitness, and WDEV. Proceeds go to support Let's Grow Kids.
If you registered last year, you're automatically registered this year. So bring your family and friends to join the fun.
What are you waiting for? Sign up today at the mall or online at theberlinmall.com/walk.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting one-of-a-kind local businesses like WDEV to preserve the distinct character of Vermont.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, working to bring down the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. AARP.org/VT.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Welcome back to Radio Row at Home on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on this Friday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Huge day on campus tomorrow at UVM. You got men's basketball, you got men's hockey. Those are in the afternoon and night. But more importantly than that, you've got women's hockey, Hockey East playoff action, noon tomorrow. Second-seeded Catamounts taking on Providence College. And joining us now is the head coach of the Catamount women's hockey team, Jim Plumer. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brady. Thanks for having me on. It's not very often that someone says that we're more important than men's basketball or men's hockey. And, I don't know if that's true or not, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Well, tomorrow it absolutely is. It's playoff time in Catamount country. And look, this has been a banner year for your program. You've reached the national rankings for the first time. You've beat the #1 team in the country for the first time. You beat Boston College multiple times, and that was the first time you've beaten them in more than a decade. So this has been a great ride. What's it been like from your perspective?
I don't know if I can call it something better than a great ride. It's very satisfying and gratifying to to see our kids get the respect that I think they've really craved over these years. There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the years, and generations of players that have helped us make some incremental steps. This week has been really cool. A lot of our players have been recognized over the last couple of days with Hockey East Awards, and I think you feel like a proud father, and because that's all I've really ever wanted, was for these guys to be respected and to obviously to be competitive. And I know one goes with the other. Like, we're not going to get the respect and the attention if we don't have success. And it's been a long road to get to this point. So, it's almost like there was a tipping point there, because 8 weeks ago we weren't having this conversation. Even if I thought we were still good enough to be in this position, we had to sort of get that tipping point of success and confidence. So I think to see our kids enjoy that ride has been phenomenal.
So you talk about your players getting recognized by Hockey East, and there was a laundry list of them. All-Stars came out today, and Teresa Schaffsahl is one of them. And I think it was last weekend, she set the program's single-season record for both goals and points. And if I'm not mistaken, she broke our friend Amanda Pelkey's record, at least in one of those. It's not every day, not every year, that someone breaks a record from the greatest player in program history and a gold medalist. That doesn't happen often.
No, and the funny thing is, it happened with the same puck. One goal broke both records. And she's a really special player, and Amanda was a special player and is a very special person to our program and to the state of Vermont. And so I think anytime anybody gets mentioned in the same breath as her, it's a credit to her. Teresa's having a phenomenal year. I think she's an elite player, the likes of which I would put her up against anybody in the NCAA right now. She's having that kind of impact on every game. She only played 21 Hockey East games, which is 6 fewer than we played because of injury and being gone for Olympic qualifiers. And she still had the most points in the league. And there's only been 3 Hockey East games out of those 21 that she didn't even have a point. So really consistent, impressive impact on the game.
We've talked so much nationally over the last few years about ways to grow women's athletics, and people banging the drum for women's athletics. So how cool is it, against that backdrop, to see I don't know if it's an emergence or a resurgence, but both you and the women's basketball team having very good years here at the same time? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the women's teams, women's soccer, and had a great year, obviously, and field hockey had one of their best years. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I think the other sort of backdrop of just sort of current events is happening. Our emergence happened at the same time the Olympics were going on, where we did have some players playing. And with the NHL not sending men's players there, I think women's hockey in a lot of ways took a center stage. Like the viewership numbers that are being shown on for the U.S. and Canada anyway, by far the most viewed events at the Olympics were the women's gold medal game, and between the U.S. and Canada. So I think it's cool to piggyback on that. It's really happy to see women's basketball, reemerging as a top contender in America East. So yeah, a lot of good vibes around the department right now. UVM women's hockey coach Jim Plumer with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Catamounts in their playoff game tomorrow, their conference playoff opener quarterfinals against Providence. UVM, the 2nd seed, Providence, the 7th. So go pack the gut tomorrow at noon and then stay all day for all the other events that are on campus. It's going to be a busy day. Let's talk about the Olympics for a second, because it was such a cool experience. I'm watching, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm up early, and there's a couple of your players for the Czech Republic. And then there's a player for Finland. And the team bonding that I saw your team engage in, getting up early, watching games together and rooting, and a video chat and things like that. And then Siini Kerjalainen comes back from Finland with a bronze medal. All of it is cool.
It really is cool. And, Siini's such a humble person. She's the last person that really wants attention. And there was a whole group at the airport to meet her, about 2/3 of the team and the entire staff. And she kind of comes running down the concourse, and the team's running towards her for this big group hug. And meanwhile, there's, this was a Delta flight from Atlanta. There's a lot of people on this plane, and they're kind of all walking by looking. And about maybe 2 minutes after this group hug happens, Sini opens her backpack, pulls out the medal, and now everyone, wants to see it and to get a picture taken with Sini with it. And all these people are walking by, and the scene around, we waited 20 minutes for the bags to start coming out because it is Burlington, Vermont, after all. And all these people were kind of like, oh my God, like we had no idea, and yeah, she's a special kid. And it was cute. When they played their first game, which was against the U.S., we had just gotten the bus to drive to Maine, and every time she came on the ice, everyone in the bus was yelling, "Sini, Sini!" And it's amazing, and it's nice that they got back over the weekend. Natalie Mlinkova did join us in Boston and played last Saturday against Boston College, but Sini got back Sunday night, so they've had a few days to kind of adjust. But there's been some of these moments where Tinka Patkova said to me Sunday night at the airport, she said, "It's wild for me to think I was in China 5 days ago." Wow. So I think the adjustment, the time, being 13 hours ahead and long travel, they all went back to their homes for a day or so, a pit stop on the way to Burlington.
Any bets between your players about friendly wagers about USA Canada? You got a lot of Canadians, a lot of American players. I'm sure it was a fun rivalry to be a part of for your locker room. Any bets? Any friendly wagers there? Anybody got to wear the other country's jersey or anything?
No, I wasn't aware of that. Honestly, that I will say that anytime that Finland played, our kids were rooting for Finland. Didn't matter if they were playing the U.S. or Canada, which I thought was pretty neat.
Well, I'll get you out of here on a very serious international note, but I do want to ask you about this. The whole world right now pretty rocked by what's happening in Ukraine, and you don't have any players from Ukraine, but you do have several players from Europe that I'm sure at the very least are cognizant and interested in what's going on. As a coach, how do you handle that? I mean, I'm sure there's a wide range of emotions from multiple different players.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened relatively quickly, obviously, over the last couple of days. And I will say, to our kids' credit, they've been focused on what we're doing. And we've had early morning practices, so there hasn't been a lot of chatter. But I know, for example, the Czech players who lived through, one of our alums, Sammy Kolarad, who played in the Olympics, her dad grew up in the U.S. Their family fled Czech in 1968 when they became a communist country, and then they went back after the communism ended there, and they broke it up to Czech Republic and Slovakia. So, look, our kids, I will say one thing, we've been through a lot over the years, the last few years with COVID and other world events that have been really serious. And we have a compassionate group, and I think honestly, having a big, wide variety of people from different countries helps everybody kind of understand. But I would say maybe the most emotion that I know of is how much people appreciate democracy and what they have here, the opportunity to go to school here and play hockey and have funding and be able to, pursue the things that are important to them. So, I think the timing of it is such that there hasn't been a lot of open chatter about it, but I know it's got to be on the minds. I mean, Finland's right. Sini Karjalainen lives probably 50 miles from Russia in northern Finland. Obviously, the other Europeans have know the impact of a potential war in Europe. So I think going forward, it is definitely going to be something that gets talked about.
Well said. And Jim Plumer, the UVM women's hockey coach, at the helm of everything there. And Coach, on a happier note, I do hope everybody packs the gut tomorrow, noon, first playoff game. Your team's been a fun story all year, but more than a fun story, they're a fun team, and they're a very good team as well. So 2nd-seeded Catamounts, 7th-seeded Friars, gut tomorrow, and there's events all day on campus. So, Coach, good luck. Hopefully we're doing this again next week, getting ready for a semifinal game.
That would be great. Thanks again, Brady. Have a good weekend.
You too as well. Jim Plumer, the UVM women's hockey coach. Tomorrow might be the most fun single weekend that I can remember at UVM since I've gotten here. I don't want to say it definitely is, but you got playoff women's hockey, you got last regular season game for men's basketball, and then you've got men's hockey, the final regular season game of the year for them as well. So definitely looking forward to a great day of following all the action tomorrow in Catamount Country. Hard to believe we're coming down. So the final regular season home game for men's basketball is tomorrow. Women's basketball is the final regular season game, period, tomorrow. And then men's hockey is taking on UMass this weekend, and that is their that is not their final home game. It's their final weekend home game. They are going to play Northeastern on Tuesday at the Gut. So I spoke a little too early there. So there will be another game for the UVM men's hockey team. But we're getting down towards the end. Yeah, tomorrow might be the single most fun, packed, meaningful day since I've gotten here. You know, I've been here for championship games, but that's a standalone game. This is an entire day where there's stuff going on, and a lot of it is important and meaningful. So Jim Plumer and his team, I implore you to go support them and pack the Gut noon tomorrow. We get a couple messages saying thanks for talking about women's hockey. Absolutely. They're worth talking about, simply put. This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I love the airport story. I mean, Sini Karajalinen coming in there and just whipping out the bronze medal, and everybody's like, wait, what? Wait, this like 23-year-old, 22-year-old girl did what? That's a pretty cool story. So, national news update from CBS, and then I got to respond to some Chaim Bloom slander I got from the text line. That's next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Berry, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington. In Ukraine right now, Russian forces are pushing closer to Kiev. CBS News correspondent Holly Williams is in nearby Kharkiv, the country's second largest city, where citizens are being told to seek shelter.
Russia does deny that it's targeting civilians, and certainly when the invasion first began with those missile strikes and airstrikes, they were targeting, for the most part, military installations. Now that Russian ground forces are engaged inside Ukraine, they're fighting the Ukrainian military. That said, those civilians have been killed, civilians have been injured, and people have lost their homes.
NATO held an emergency meeting today to discuss the invasion. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
We must stand ready to do more, even if it means we have to pay a price, because we are in this for the long haul.
He called on Russia to end what he called a senseless war. Depending where you live, you may be able to finally take that mask off. The CDC with new guidance today on face coverings. Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky.
We want to give people a break from things like mask wearing when our levels are low, and then have the ability to reach for them again should things get worse in the future.
Our Naomi Rockham with more on the new guidelines and how people are reacting.
Even though most Americans will now be able to shed their masks, here in New York, that might take some getting used to.
I've got my mask with me, and I'm going to be wearing it in the grocery store and going to the museum.
I think it just kind of depends on the place and the amount of people and, how safe I feel in that environment.
The shift comes as a new Lancet study confronts the tragic toll of the pandemic. More than 5 million children worldwide have lost a parent or caregiver to the virus.
And the number of new COVID-19 infections has dropped 65% in the past 2 weeks. Today, President Biden officially announced his nominee to the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
It's my honor to introduce to the country a daughter of former public school teachers, a proven consensus builder, an accomplished lawyer, a distinguished jurist.
She says she feels blessed.
Among my many blessings, and indeed the very first, is the fact that I was born in this great country. The United States of America is the greatest beacon of hope and democracy the world has ever known.
If confirmed, Jackson will be the first Black woman to serve on the High Court. Stocks surged today, ending the day higher despite the Ukraine invasion. The Dow up 2.5% at the close. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Hey, country music fans, Lee Bryce here, inviting you to go on tour with me and my band. Play the Vermont Lottery's $5 Big Country Cash instant ticket, and you could win up to $20,000. And there's a second chance drawing to join me on the road. And we're talking concerts, backstage passes, and more. Basically, where I go, you go, all in the comfort of a luxury tour bus. For your chance to say, hey, I'm with the band, try the Big Country Cash instant ticket. I like your soul.
Visit a Vermont Lottery retailer today. Please play responsibly.
This week at Macy's, get an extra 20% off when you use your coupon or Macy's card. Or shop incredible specials to snag end-of-season finds, like 30 to 50% off designer suits, blazers, and pants, and 30% off the coziest accessories. And step up your mornings with 30% off blenders, juicers, and more. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase, except gift cards, services, and fees. See Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Sure, we have 30 seconds to tell you that drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. But then what? We could romance the legal copy. It never gets the attention it deserves. And some lawyer worked real hard on it. So take it away, lawyer.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Now that was some beautiful legal. Well done, lawyer. Well done.
Bargain Hunters. The Trading Post online marketplace is where you can get deeply discounted deals, massages, memberships, Vermont flannel gift cards. Right now, get a $25 gift certificate to Valley Bowl and Randolph for $20, a $50 gift certificate to Twin City Family Fun Center for $40, and a Modio Rec one-year family membership valued at over $500 is just $350. Find a full listing of these deals and more at WDEVradio.com.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Continue to drive safe out there, everybody. We go up until 7 o'clock, and then at that point, it is Jazz with George Thomas. Reminder, when the show is over, you can always download our free podcast, subscribe to our free podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and you'll get it every single day, again, for free, and it's all brought to you by us here at WDEV. Before we get back into the J.C. Jackson stuff for one more time today, I want to read an interesting text I got overnight. So last night I was talking a lot about Major League Baseball, and I was talking about the Red Sox and my thoughts on the Red Sox. And I said that I was nervous about the Red Sox coming into this year. So I got a text on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026, and it came from Chris up in Burlington, and he said, I agree with you. I also am nervous about the Red Sox. I feel like Chaim Bloom operates like he has the Tampa Bay budget still. And that is a sentiment that I hear from a lot of Chaim Bloom doubters or a lot of Chaim Bloom haters. They think that Chaim Bloom is cheap. They think that the Rays are, or that the Red Sox are just Tampa Bay North, and they think that the Red Sox have become cheap. And I want to push back on that statement. And again, 802-585-3026. You can get in. Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line is open for you too. I want to push back on that narrative about Chaim Bloom. I believe that Chaim Bloom is going to spend when it's time to spend. And it just hasn't been time to spend yet. Now, I do believe that post-lockout, we're right up against that point. Ask me if Chaim Bloom doesn't spend any money after the lockout ends, then maybe I'll have a different segment for you. But right now, today, hey, the show is today, Chaim Bloom, I think, has done everything that he should have been doing for the Boston Red Sox. When he got here, the team was not in a spending mode. He got here in 2020 and instantly had to trade Mookie Betts, had to get rid of David Price. He had Chris Sale out for the season with Tommy John surgery. That 2020 Red Sox team was not slated to be good, and it was horrible. 2020 was not a buying big ticket item year. It was a getting assets year. So what did he do? He flipped over the couch cushions and looked under the couch cushions and he got Christian Arroyo. He turned Heath Hembry and Brandon Workman into Nick Pivetta and your top pitching prospect, Connor Siebold, guys that we like. That's a good job. That's exactly what you should be doing. He turned Kevin Pillar into a prospect. He turned Mitch Moreland into a prospect. So the Red Sox were not in a winning position in 2020, so there would be no point in spending big. The Tampa Bay way, the acquiring assets way, the looking for diamonds in the rough way, that's exactly what should have been done in 2020. And let's be honest, coming off of 2020, did we really think that 2021 was going to be a whole lot better? I didn't. The Red Sox massively outperformed expectations last year. They massively outkicked their coverage. They played above their talent level. They took advantage of some of the carnage happening around them in the American League and some of the things that were happening because of COVID. The Red Sox last year weren't worth spending massively on. It was another acquisition year. Fine. Trade Andrew Benintendi. I was okay with trading him. I didn't necessarily love the deal that they made, but they went and got a good prospect in Winkowski, the pitcher. It was a buy low deal on Hunter Renfroe, see what you got, and it worked. Bring back Martin Perez, go get Garrett Richards, eat some innings. Like, this is what the Red Sox last year should have been doing. They just happened to be far better than we thought. Now, if you don't like that he didn't spend big at the trade deadline, I guess that's the only thing that I would say that you have in your arsenal in this argument. But even then, he went out and got players that proved to be useful. Kyle Schwarber was the best bat acquired at the deadline, and Chaim Bloom went and got him. Hansel Robles, for as bad as he looked early, he turned out to be pretty good. And he was a high leverage reliever for them late in the year. Austin Davis, the lefty, pitched pretty good. The kid they got from Pittsburgh. So, you wanted him to go get Jose Barrios. You wanted him to go get Max Scherzer. The guys that they got did pretty well. So I think that Chaim Bloom, to this point, has done almost everything that he should have done. When he got here, it was about building a sustainable winner. So he's rebuilt the farm system. He's gotten it into the top 11 now in Major League Baseball. There's a couple of prospects we really like, some of which were inherited from Dave Dombrowski and developed by Bloom, and some in which Bloom has gone. The Red Sox have 5 players in the top 100. I can't remember the last time that happened. It's been several years. So I think Bloom has built or is in the process of building a sustainable winner. The Red Sox haven't been in huge flex my financial muscle mode the last couple of years. So if you think the Tampa Bay way is the way the Red Sox have been operating, I'd say, you know what? I think it's been pretty darn good. And I think that's exactly what should have been done. Spending just to spend is not smart. Chaim Bloom has done a lot of smart things. Now, fast forward. After the lockout, that's where it becomes time to spend. That is where it becomes time to spend. And if Chaim Bloom doesn't spend, if he pinches pennies, if he starts out with Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field on opening day, we'll have a different discussion. But right now, Chaim Bloom has done a good job, and he deserves the benefit of that. Farm system is better. Team hasn't spent on bad contracts. There's no Pablo Sandoval contract here. There's no Hanley Ramirez deal here. He didn't give out the Chris Sale deal or the David Price deal that he was saddled with at various points. He didn't do that stuff. So Chaim Bloom, I think, has done really, really well with what he has. Now, when the lockout ends, there's a lot of work to do. And we'll see what he does. After the lockout, it's time to flex your financial muscle. The Red Sox need an outfielder. I'm fine with them trading Hunter Renfroe. I think you sold high on him. I don't think he's a 33 and 100 guy again next year. But your outfield on opening day cannot just be Alex Verdugo, Kike Hernandez, and Jackie Bradley. That's not going to fly. Jarren Duran either. Not going to happen for me. So something has to be done. Whether Schwarber's out there, whether Dahlbeck's out there and you've gotten a first baseman, or whether you go get Saya Suzuki, the Japanese import, who I want them to get. There's got to be spending done. They need another starter. Go get Carlos Rodon. I don't care if it costs you $25 million for 1 year or 2 for 48. I don't care. Use your financial muscle, because Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, and James Paxton, that ain't all that needs to be done. Go spend money after the lockout. The Red Sox need to do that. But to this point, Chaim Bloom deserves a lot of praise. I think he's done pretty much everything right. Texter asked me earlier in the segment, what is next? Because you answered it. Well, there you go. That's what's next. Seiya Suzuki is the person that I want. Japanese, right-handed, slugging outfielder. Very good defensively. That's who I want. Go spend money there. Go spend money on Rodon. I don't need them to go get Trevor Story. I don't need them to get Carlos Correa. I don't need Chris Bryant. Any of those things would be nice. I don't need $330 million spending. But Seiya Suzuki, $75 million, $80 million? Yes. Carlos Rodon, $45, $50 million? Yes. $25 million for 1 year? Don't care. A lot of you wanted them to go sign Justin Verlander. That wasn't smart. A 40-year-old at $25 million a year? No, thank you. They're spending just to spend, and they're smart spending, and Chaim Bloom has been smart to this point, just about everything that he has done. Not every deal has worked. Not every deal is going to work. But Chaim Bloom has done exactly what he's supposed to do, with his methodology. It's all been pretty much flawless as far as I am concerned. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM. He even nailed the draft twice now. Nick York, who's a kid out of Arizona, who everybody couldn't stand to pick in the first round a couple years ago, he's now shooting up prospect boards. And Marcelo Meyer, he's one of the top prospects in baseball, and they got him last year at number 4 in the draft. So I think Chaim Bloom is doing a very good job. But when the lockout ends, he's going to have to spend. So 802-585-3026. We started out the show talking about J.C. Jackson, the Patriots cornerback and soon-to-be free agent. We got more information on his situation from Mike Giardi of the NFL Network.
Now, the other thing that he mentioned there is, he would play under the franchise tag. Well, of course he would. It's a lot of money for 1 year, but it's not ideal. It's not the situation my source says that camp would like to have J.C. Jackson. And when you look at J.C. Jackson's age, and again, his production, I think he wants to be paid in the top 5 of cornerbacks.
So Giardi says that Jackson would play under the franchise tag, but that's not what he wants. And this all makes perfect sense to me. And as usual, 2 things can be true at the same time. I'm going to get that tattooed on my back. 2 things can be true at the same time. 1, if I am the Patriots, I want J.C. Jackson playing under the franchise tag. Him playing under the franchise tag is better for me. What's also true is that if I'm Jackson, I'd play under the franchise tag, but I really don't want to, and that's really going to sour our relationship if you make me play under the franchise tag. Both of those things can be true. Let me get to the team first, because the team, I think it's pretty easy to see. As a team, J.C. Jackson on the franchise tag is better. Why? Because as the team, I always want flexibility. And J.C. Jackson playing under the franchise tag gives me flexibility. My payroll situation wouldn't be too flexible in 2022, but it gives me flexibility in a lot of other ways. 1, the franchise tag for Jackson means that I'm not tied to a player long-term at big money, and it gives me an opportunity to develop my next cheaper, younger model. And like it or not, that is the way business works. If you have a cheaper, younger model, you're going to move on. And if you have J.C. Jackson at 1 year, you have an opportunity in that year to develop somebody younger and cheaper, and that will open up my payroll in the future, and I can just keep on going down the line. The Patriots, at one point, they could let Malcolm Butler go. Why? They'd spent big on Stephon Gilmore. They could let Gilmore go. Why? Because they had Jackson, younger and cheaper. Can I develop that next younger, cheaper option? Jackson's here. He anchors my defense in 2022. Oh, but I also drafted a kid this year, and now he's ready to take a step forward, and he can take Jackson's place, and I can let Jackson walk for 2023. I like the flexibility. If I can't do that, then I can try to just sign Jackson again after the year and, give him the big money deal. But it gives me an opportunity to be flexible and to develop a game plan. And two, injury is reality in the NFL. It's always a possibility. The end of your career is one play away. And this sounds callous, but it's reality. If I pay JC Jackson and he gets injured, I am now married to damaged goods. And damaged goods do not do any good for me. If I only have him on a 1-year franchise tag deal, it's a lot easier for me to get around a potential injury like that. I like the flexibility. If I am the Patriots, I want JC Jackson on the franchise tag. I will pay you the big money for this year, but it'll open up a lot of options for me in the future. So that is true. The franchise tag is just about always good for the team. What else I said could be true is that if I were Jackson, I would play under the franchise tag, to Giardi's point, but I would not be happy about it. The franchise tag, players really don't like it. You want to earn as much money as you possibly can. And while getting a lot of money for 1 year is great, it's not as good as getting a lot of money for 4 or 5 years. And that's what J.C. Jackson wants. And that's what J.C. Jackson feels he's already earned. So if you're not going to I have played for you for 4 years already. And I have been great for you for 4 years. And you don't want to commit to me long term? Screw you. Give me my money. And now I'm upset. Think about it like a relationship. You've been dating a girl for 4 years. She wants the ring. You tell her, you know what? Why don't we date for another year and we'll see where things are at? She's going to slap you in the face. That's what J.C. Jackson figuratively would like to do with the Patriots playing on the franchise tag. I have bled for you and performed for you for 4 damn years. And you're not going to give me the big deal? And you won't let me walk so somebody else will get it? I'm not thrilled by it. I'm not happy by it. So now, if you're going to sign me in 2023, you're going to pay a little extra because I'm PO'd. The second thing on this is that there's just the element of, do I really have to prove it again? J.C. Jackson was an undrafted free agent. He's been proving it ever since he got here. Ever since he got to the league. And now you're going to give him the big time 1-year deal. And now I got to go through a contract year again. I got to worry about getting injured in a contract year again. And now I got to sing for my supper again because you're not willing to commit to me long term. I am tired of having to prove myself. That's how I'd feel if I were J.C. Jackson. I'm tired of proving myself. I've earned it. The money is finally mine. I finally get a chance for generational wealth. The thing that I covet, the thing that I want. I've done the prove it thing. I'm tired of proving it again and again and again to you. So yes, the franchise tag, I'll play on it, but I'm not going to be thrilled by it. And that's what Giardi's basically saying. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Rick in Montpelier, how much would the franchise tag pay him? Rick, good question. Maybe I should have said that at the start. The defensive back franchise tag is about $17 million for this year. That's the projection. Now, every position is different, right? Quarterback franchise tag is like in the 30s. Punter franchise tag is way down there. Defensive back, $17 million. So if J.C. Jackson plays on the franchise tag, he's playing on a 1-year, $17 million deal. And that's really good. You know what it's not as good as? 4 for 80 or 5 for 95. It's not as good as that. J.C. Jackson feels like he has earned that. He's waited his time. He's proven himself, and he wants to be taken care of. Kathy in South Burlington. Do you really think the Patriots, quote, aren't sure of the player? Kathy, I think there's a lot of times in the NFL where teams aren't sure of a player. I think there's a lot of times in a salary cap league where you're not sure you want to commit long-term to somebody, right? Baseball, we talk about, spending and all that. Baseball, it's a little easier to be saddled with a contract, right? There's no salary cap. We know about the CBT. We've heard all about that. That's certainly a deterrent. But if you make a mistake in baseball, it's easier to get around because you can keep spending. You also have minor leaguers that are cheap that can always come up and, you're hoping to hit on them. Football doesn't have that. Football doesn't have the minor league system. You have to hit on the guys on your 53-man roster. So I think there's always trepidation of a non-quarterback that the player's going to get injured or the player's going to regress. So I think look, the money is finite in the NFL. You don't want to make a mistake. So I think a lot of times teams are cognizant of tying up money for 4 or 5 years. I think the Patriots know that J.C. Jackson is very, very good. And I think, like Giardi said earlier, that they want him to be there. But I think it's more like, can we really commit $20 million to a non-quarterback? I think that's the thing that the Patriots just might be struggling with. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Okay, we do this every single day. Let's get to Who's Saying What.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What today? Brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. We're all going to need car washes after this storm, right? Everything's going to be dirty. The salt's going to be all around. Our tires are going to be garbage. So we're all going to need car washes. So if you want an unlimited car wash package, $20 a month, Central Vermont's Vermont Laser Wash, the home of unlimited car washes. If you want just one car wash after this storm, text the word Vermont to the number 30, followed by the number 400. Okay, I feel like I'm going to rant about this. I feel like I'm going to get emotional and all hopped up. I'm going to try to keep myself in check, but we've all kind of seen the tenuous nature of the Kyler Murray situation in Arizona, right? Remember this? Cardinals were really good. Then they really scuffled. They went to the playoffs. They got embarrassed by the Rams. They couldn't move the football. Kyler in particular played horrible. He unfollowed the team on social media and kind of scrubbed them from his social media. The team then went and did the same to him. The team doesn't think he's a good enough leader. Some of the teammates have said that anonymously, I believe. And then he kind of said the team didn't do enough for me. And now Robert Griffin III, former NFL quarterback, RG3, Heisman Trophy winner, he had this to say last night on ESPN.
If you're Kyler Murray, you have to want out, right? The report that came out from anonymous sources from the front office was low down and dirty, right? Kyler Murray is a guy that's made this team relevant. He's a guy that's put it all on the line for them. And yeah, he didn't play great in the playoff game. He shouldn't want out because of the fans. He shouldn't want out because of his teammates. He should want out because of what they did to him publicly.
So RG3 says that Kyler Murray should just want out of Arizona. I am so sick of just the answer to every problem being the guy needs to leave town. I am so sick of everybody apparently being able and good enough to just call their shot. In the NFL and in the NBA, apparently every player is at the level where they can hold their organization hostage and rake them over the coals, and I am tired of it. I believe in player empowerment. I believe in players having a voice. I believe in players having a line of communication with the organization. I believe in all of that. I don't believe that every damn player has the right to go and force their way out of town. Matt Stafford played for 12 years with the Lions. He earned the right to call his shot as far as I'm concerned. Kyler Murray hasn't. Kyler Murray has been there for 3 years. And guess what? RG3 says the organization was bad to him. Maybe they were in that instance. I'll agree with him. But you know what? For 3 years, the organization has bent over backwards for Kyler Murray. And they've given him everything that he could have and should have wanted. He should recognize that, and so should you, RG3, because rather than being ungrateful and childish and throwing a temper tantrum until he gets out of town, recognize what the organization has done for him. Because listen to this list. The Arizona Cardinals made Kyler Murray the number 1 pick in the draft. You know what that means? Highest paid draft pick. You know what that means? Lucrative endorsements. If you want to go beyond money and just say, what have they done for him football-wise? Well, here's this. They fired a head coach to give him a guy specifically tailored to work with him. Cliff Kingsbury was brought in specifically for Kyler Murray. So they gave him a head coach that everybody felt could best utilize his skill set. That sounds like a pretty nice organization to me. We're going to fire our coach for you and bring in somebody that's going to be perfect for you. They went and traded for DeAndre Hopkins, maybe at the time the best receiver in football. You know how many teams would love to have DeAndre Hopkins? You know how many quarterbacks would love to have their organization take a shot like that for them? They went and they got DeAndre Hopkins for you. Oh, the defense needs some work? Well, we're going to go get J.J. Watt for you too. The Arizona Cardinals have bent over backwards for Kyler Murray, and they've bent over backwards trying to build for Kyler Murray. The Arizona Cardinals were the last unbeaten team this year and folded. That's not just because the organization didn't do enough. You got hurt, Kyler Murray. And I'm not blaming you for that, but if Kyler Murray doesn't get hurt, we might very easily be talking about them winning the NFC West and them being maybe the top seed in the NFC, and this whole conversation's different. Kyler Murray does not need to hold the Arizona Cardinals hostage, and I am tired of everybody saying that every player needs to want out of their current situation. The Cardinals were picking number 1 in the draft 3 years ago when Kyler Murray got picked. They've won more games every single year since he got there. They clearly have done something right. They're not the Lions. They're not the Bengals pre-Joe Burrow. They're not what the Browns were for 20 years. They're not what the Texans are. This organization has done a lot for you. And you know what? If you really hate it that much, you got 2 years left on your deal. You'll be young. Become a free agent after and go sign somewhere else. Or if you really, really, really hate it so much, go play baseball for the Oakland A's organization and go play a different sport. If it's that bad, go play baseball, honor your baseball contract where you were the number 9 pick in the draft, and go start in the minor leagues, ride the bus, and work your way to the majors. If it's that awful. And if it's just kind of awful, play the 2 years and then go be a free agent and go make a bunch of money somewhere else. But you don't need to hold your organization hostage. RG3, I'm disappointed that you said that. Not every player gets to call their shot. It's the Brady Farkas Show. It's WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. I'm going to take a step out of the studio after that segment. We're going to get a drink of water, and then when we come back, I'm going to tell you what Ben Shungu had to say. Ben Shungu sat down with one of the most prominent college basketball insiders in the country yesterday. Had a couple interesting things to say. He thinks the Catamounts' loss to Hartford, their only loss of the conference season, was necessary. Do we agree with him? We'll talk about it next on WDEV.
In 1973, firefighter Gary Thurston died in the line of duty in a tragic barn fire. The Randolph Village Fire Department honors his memory every year with scholarships to local high school graduates. They raise money for the scholarships with a bowling tournament at our bowling center, Valley Bowl in Randolph. This year, it's the last weekend in February and the first weekend in March. You can email me at karensproshop@gmail.com and I can send you all the details. Bring a team, come as a double or even a single. Bring friends and family, it's open to all. It's fun and for a great cause, the Gary Thurston Memorial Tournament. Also, thanks to all who came to our recent demo day. It was a great turnout and the staff from Brunswick helped many people get into the balls best for their styles of bowling. If you need a new ball or want to revive your old ball to like new condition, I'm your gal. Valley Bowl in Randolph, down under the Main Street Bridge, and Karen's Pro Shop. As always, I'd love to handle your equipment.
As temperatures start going down, you should go up to your attic and protect your comfort with Knopf insulation, available at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber. Adding rolls, bats, or loose fill insulation can keep your house warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer and save you up to 20% on energy bills. Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Derby, and Swanton. Sticksandstuff.com.
Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, we've got the right stuff for you.
At Make-A-Wish Vermont, we've got a million things on our minds.
A million? That's a really big number.
That's because right now, we're out to raise over 1 million frequent flyer miles for our Wishes in Flight program.
It would take like a whole hour to count that high.
Donating your miles is easy, and each mile goes to making wishes come true for deserving children right here in Vermont.
I wish to speak Japanese to Japanese people in Japan.
Children's wishes can take them lots of places, and so can you, by donating your miles to Wishes in Flight. So, will you help us raise 1 million or more frequent flyer miles?
How about 1 million, billion, bazillion miles?
We'd take that too. Please visit wishesinflightvt.org to donate your miles. Once donated, miles never expire, so you know each mile will go to making a deserving Vermont child's wish come true. So come on, visit wishesinflightvt.org today.
Now say thank you.
Thank you. Sponsored by People's United Bank.
Hey everybody, I'm Lee Cattell. Have your lunch with Brady Farkas and me weekdays on the Midday News Service. The latest local news, Brady's sports report, Roger Hill updates from the Forecast Center, plus business, interviews, and breaking news as it happens. The Midday News Service, weekdays during the noon hour on Vermont's news and sports leader, WDEV FM and AM. Streamed at WDEVradio.com. Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school. Online at ProDriverCDL.com. Locations in Enosburg and in Milton. If you're looking for your Class A CDL, your Class B CDL, you'd want passenger and advanced skills training. You can get it all. Again, that's Pro Driver CDL. Again, ProDriverCDL.com. UVM men's basketball, 15-1 right now in America East play. They're taking on UMass Lowell tomorrow at 4 at Patrick Gym. 2 regular season games left in the season. Then on to the America East tournament we go. Catamounts are 23-5. Andy Katz is one of the most prominent college basketball insiders and personalities in the country. Long time at ESPN. Now he's over working for NCAA.com. He sat down yesterday with South Burlington native and presumptive America East Player of the Year, Ben Shungu. And Benny had a couple of really interesting things to say in this interview. So let's kind of run through some of the points that he had to make. Benny thinks the loss against Hartford, the only loss of the Catamounts season in league play, was actually necessary.
So, I mean, obviously with the loss against Hartford, I think it was needed. I think it was a wake-up call just to, obviously, we didn't have Ryan or Finn, but we got to be ready to play every game. And so I think that was definitely needed.
Ben Shungu thinks their only loss of the conference season was needed and necessary. Do you think that? 802-585-3026. Are you buying that the loss is actually a good thing for UVM? Now, I am not someone that usually thinks that a team needs a loss. I like my teams to win, and I'm well aware and said so on the air. That loss against Hartford, that was detrimental to this team. This team that lost to Hartford, which was 6-16 at the time, that hurts UVM's tournament resume. So the loss to Hartford was not a good thing for the overall course of UVM's season when it talks to, or when you talk about tournament seeding and long-term projection, etc. But I do respect what Shungu is saying, and he is the one in the locker room. So I'll pull my thoughts back on it and just say this, that if he thinks it was necessary, then maybe it can be a good thing. It is bad for the team overall in terms of my goals with them getting a better seed, but if he thinks it's a positive, then fine. Maybe the team was getting too complacent. Maybe the team was getting too cocky. Maybe the team was getting overconfident. Maybe the team wasn't respecting their opponents. I don't know. And if he is the leader of the team, if he thinks that, then I will accept it. I know it's bad from a long-term projection standpoint, but if in the short term it's what UVM needed and Benny thinks so, I'll defer to him. He's in the locker room. He's the leader of the team. He also said this. He said, I don't think there's pressure on our team.
I don't necessarily think there's any pressure on us. I think it's just as long as we can go out there and play basketball and have fun, we'll be able to do what we want to do.
So Benny says there's no pressure on this team. Now, that's the right thing to say. It's not true. It's the right thing to say, though. There's absolutely pressure on this team. It's not even a question. There's a lot of pressure on this team for a lot of different reasons. This team has home court advantage in the conference tournament. This is the last go-around for Ben Shungu. You're not going to get this situation where you have a 24-year-old senior team leader again. That's not going to happen. The COVID years and Benny being a redshirt his first year on campus, like this has created a rare opportunity to have a huge veteran leader. You're not going to get that anymore. This could be the last go-around for Ryan Davis. Now, he's got another year available, but he could leave after this year if he wants to. So it's the last go-around for Benny. It could be the last go-around for Davis, too. You're got home court advantage, and you lost last year on your home court. UVM hasn't been to the tournament now in the last 2 years, right? They got the tournament canceled on them in 2020. They got upset on their home floor in 2021. A lot of these players have never been to the tournament, and the guys that have gone before haven't been in a while. There's pressure for them to get back to a tournament. And then, they're the clear favorite. They'll play all their games at home. Stony Brook's not in the field. That's among your top competitors in the league, and they've been kicked out of the tournament. So it's in Hartford, the team that beat you and knocked you out last year, they're still milling around right there. So I think there's a lot of pressure on UVM. They're the runaway favorite. They're 15-1 in the league. They're 23-5 overall. At one point, they were tied for the nation's longest winning streak. They want to get back to the tournament where they haven't been in the last 2 seasons. I appreciate Benny saying there's no pressure. It is the right thing to say. You don't want to put more pressure on the guys. You're the team leader. You know the tenor of the locker room. You want to keep it loose. Right thing to say. It's not true. Huge amount of pressure on this Catamount team. The last go-around for Benny, maybe the last go-around for Davis. UVM's had 6 straight Player of the Years after Benny wins it this year. 6 straight Player of the Years for UVM. That's an unbelievable streak that will be. 2 for Lamb, 2 for Trey Bell Haynes, 1 for Davis, and 1 for Shungu. That's pretty remarkable. When you have the 2 best conference, you absolutely have pressure on you to win at home. Absolutely. And Stony Brook's not there. So 100%. I did think one last thing. It was interesting what Andy Katz said on the way out the door to Benny of that interview. Listen to this here. We have that, everybody? We do. Okay, here it is over here on this button bar. Here's what Andy Katz had to say.
Well, I hope you guys can finish up strong. You deserve it. And we want to see Vermont at its best in March, because certainly that's a team that can, certainly can win a couple of games in that other tournament once you get past the America East.
Vermont is a team that can win a couple of games in that other tournament. Talk about putting pressure on people. Now, I know what Andy Katz is doing. He's getting out of the interview. Sometimes getting out of interviews are weird. You want to end it on a nice note, so maybe it just kind of came out. But can we get one tournament win before we talk about winning a couple of games in that other tournament? I think UVM has a chance to win one game. If they can get a 13 seed, I think they can win a 13-4 matchup if it's the right one. Don't give me multiple yet. I don't need more pressure on this program, so I'd like to get. I know what Andy Katz is doing. He's just trying to get out of the interview and be nice. I don't even think he means that, but let's not put it out there. Let's get one first. Text line open 802-585-3026. Tim says yes, the loss is good for motivation for them to play harder. Anthony says basically the same thing. That loss was a wake-up call. They can't slack off. The loss was the consequence of that. And by the way, Brady, you have to win the America East Championship to even get a seed to be dancing in March. Yes, I understand that. The team doesn't need to look ahead. I do. I don't play for the team. I can look ahead. Okay? I don't have to live in cliche coach speak. The team can say we're taking it one day at a time and every game's important. That's great. I'm moving on. I'm looking at the NCAA tournament. I have bigger goals. I've seen this team do everything that you're talking about. They've already, to me, been the one seed before. They've already won the conference tournament. And so that, to me, now, that's an expectation. With this group this year, that's an expectation. It won't always be that way, probably. There will be some years where the team is too young or too injured or just not good enough. And I'll have different expectations. But this year, when you're 15-1 in the league and you've beaten everybody in the league by double digits except for, I want to say, there might just be one game that UVM hasn't won by double figures of their wins. Like, I expect you to run through the conference tournament. Anything less than the conference title and will be a massive failure at that point. So, and that's another reason there's a lot of pressure. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Final segment of the week comes up. We'll give you the lowdown on what's happening at the Major League Baseball negotiations. And Chelsea Janes, who covers baseball for the Washington Post, she said something really interesting, and I don't think she's giving us enough credit. I'll tell you what that is. That's next on WDEV.
WDEV at 90 is underwritten by Northfield Savings Bank. They're the bank of you and everything you do at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Celebrating 90 years. WDEV.
Randolph Winter Festival invites you to play in the snow Saturday, February 26th from 1 to 6 at Forest Hill in Randolph. Young and old can enjoy a day of snow tubing, bobsled racing, sleigh rides, snow sculpting, and fat bike rides. The day is capped off with a fireworks display. Grab your hat and mittens and head to Forest Hill in Randolph Saturday from 1 to 6 for Randolph Winter Festival. This message is brought to you by Baldock Metal Recycling and Storage Containers in Middlesex.
Driving happy with Caprice car.
You're driving home when, oh no, you hit the longest red light in town. What's this? You're smiling because your car smells amazing. You just installed a Febreze car vent clip. Ha ha! 5 weeks ago, with up to 40 days of consistent Febreze scent, those lights can stay red for as long as they'd like.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like the course keeps changing right before your eyes. And in order to maneuver it, you need an expert by your side. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PC and tech solutions you need to help you get out in front and stay ahead of the game. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Early on, WDEV owner Lloyd Squire set the mission.
No business or service exists entirely within itself. It must be a part of the area in which it lives, not just as a member of the community, but as a contributor to the life of that area.
Over the decades, we feel WDEV has made valuable contributions, including our many talk programs that provide a voice to our listeners, and expanding our offerings with podcasts and our reach with streaming. Advancements my dad couldn't even have anticipated. What's next?
We don't know, but we're hoping you'll help us experience it together. You can support WDEV with a gift of $90 to celebrate our 90 years and help ensure 90 more. You can send checks to P.O. Box 550, Waterbury, Vermont, 05676, or make credit card payments online at WDEVradio.com. We've been on this journey together. Let's continue it that way. Thank you.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
DEVradio.com. Dinner Jazz, or Jazz with George Thomas, is coming up in about 15 minutes from now. So I see George milling around right now. The Major League Baseball owners and players meeting has ended for the day literally 1 minute ago. We don't have any idea what has happened yet. We'll try to get you some updates here as they become available to us. We know Rob Manfred made his first appearance at the at the meetings. Hal Steinbrenner made his first appearance there. So we saw some new faces today. Maybe that spurred on something, but I have no idea if it did. So Jesse Rogers of ESPN is the guy who's really on top of this. Again, we'll bring you the updates as soon as we get some from Jesse Rogers. Interesting comment yesterday from Chelsea Janes, who covers baseball for the Washington Post. And she was talking about labor unrest, and she said that both the owners and the players are out of touch with the common fan. Listen to this.
And I don't think it's just Major League Baseball. I think the players are very out of touch with that aspect of it as well. I think they can't comprehend why, the everyman isn't going to side with them in a labor negotiation when, they're fighting over hundreds of thousands of dollars and most Americans are struggling to make ends meet. I don't think that it doesn't make sense, it doesn't kind of penetrate their thinking. And, obviously the owners are the same way, and it doesn't make sense.
I don't think that Chelsea Janes is giving the fans enough credit. She says that the players don't understand why Joe, every fan, doesn't agree with them. I don't think that that's true. I do think the owners are out of touch with the fans. I don't think the players are that out of touch. I think a lot of fans get what the players are saying here. I think this time, more than any other labor dispute that I've ever heard about in my life, I think at this time, I think the fans get where the players are coming from. The owners, they're out of touch with the fans. The owners are worth billions of dollars, and they seemingly want to hurt the game. The everyday fan, the everyday worker, doesn't get that. Why would you want to hurt the game that has in part made you rich? The owners want to cut minor league baseball teams to save $1 million. The owners want to cut minor league baseball players to save less than $500,000. The owners don't seem to recognize that they have the power to make up some of this ground. So the owners, they're out of touch with the fans. That's part of the reason I'm so mad at the owners. The owners are worth billions of dollars, and they seemingly want to hurt the sport, or at the very least, they want to stunt its growth. I can't reconcile that. So the owners, they're out of touch with reality. They're so far removed from you and I, everyday worker, everyday fan, it's not even funny. The players, though, I think when you really break this down, I think the players are making points that resonate to a lot of fans. There's always going to be a subset of people that think that the players are spoiled, coddled brats who are overpaid. There's always going to be that group. But what I have been saying for a week is this. Stop thinking about this as owner-player and think about this as boss versus employee. Can't all of us, the Jill and Joe everyday fan, can't we all relate to that? Can't we all relate to being screwed by the man or being screwed by the company or being screwed by management? I think the players are very much in touch with the fans. I think the fans who pay attention to this stuff and the fans who are even somewhat informed, I think a lot of them are on the player's side. Listen to what Jeff Passan had to say yesterday.
Talking with a player leader a few days ago, and his whole thing was, we just want to stop being screwed. That was his message. We feel like, even though, yes, we are in privileged positions playing this game, making tons of money in many cases, and doing this in front of an adoring public, at the same time, we want what's fair.
Can't we all relate to that? Can't every employee relate to that? Like, what is out of touch about that? I think players and the everyday fan can wholly understand each other. Think about your job for a second. Wherever you're listening to this show, think about your job. If you make a bunch of money for your company, don't you want to be paid commiserately for that? That's what the players want. They don't all want yachts and 7 houses. Some of them will get it. The very select few, most of them just want to reap in the benefit of helping their company grow. Wouldn't you want that? Can't we all understand that? I don't think the players are out of touch with the everyday fan. I think the players should have used the employee versus employer analogy that I just gave you much, much earlier, and then I think they'd have far more support even. What did Passan just say? Baseball salaries have gone down for 4 years in a row. The league gets richer and richer. The TV deals go higher and higher. Every other sport, the cap goes up every year. And in baseball, the spending on player salary is going down. In your industry, would you not be peeved if that happened? I would. If in my office, everybody's money was going down every year, I'd be upset by that. So when Chelsea Jane says that the players are out of touch with the fans, I don't think so. I think fans who have jobs, so most of the fan base, I think that they're absolutely able to understand and relate to what the players are going for. And then I hear about ageism in the workplace all the time, right? Like, people aren't getting hired because they're too old. Sure, in our reality, it's 55. In the players' reality, it's 33. But guys are getting phased out of the league earlier and earlier because they're being replaced by cheaper, newer models, and in some cases, models that aren't as good. This all seems perfectly relatable to me. So I disagreed with what Chelsea Janes had to say. I really did. The owners, they've lost it. They have no idea what's going on. The owners don't seem to have any desire in helping the game grow. In fact, they just seem intent on hurting the game in a lot of ways. Here we go. Here's the update. Evan Drellick of The Athletic. A little progress, exclamation point. MLB and the players made gains in one area today, the amateur draft order / lottery. MLB made a proposal on it. Players countered in the same day. It's not done yet, but there is optimism. Rob Manfred met with Tony Clark one-on-one. Manfred did not meet with the players. They'll meet tomorrow. So that comes from Evan Drellick of The Athletic. That's going to do it for us, everybody. Stay safe on the roads out there. Dinner Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. George is milling around here. There he is. Hi, George. So George Thomas and Jazz coming up here momentarily. Full show podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. As soon as the show is over, you can go check it out there. You can also watch the show podcast after the fact on YouTube. Thanks to UVM women's hockey coach Jim Plumer for stopping by. Best of luck to his team as they take on Providence tomorrow at the Gut. That game is at noon. UVM men are taking on UMass tonight at the Gut, and then tomorrow as well. We'll have a full recap of everything on Monday. We'll see you Monday on WDEV.
Barry Opera House presents Teddy and Jenny Do Nashville, a tribute to the great country